Well, hello there, friends and lovers. Which are which? We'll talk about that sometime, but not right now. Thank you for joining us. This is...
That should be pretty easy to determine.
Well. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 minutes or so. 5 minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
Hello.
And you. And I already see you in the chat. Thank you for joining us. I am looking forward to your comments and questions because we went real long last week. We had a great time talking to Ben Bear.
Ben Bear.
Dr. Ben Bear. If you missed that interview, I don't think you did. Our view counts are looking really good last week. But if you missed that interview, do go back and watch it after tonight's episode. Thanks again to Ben for joining us. In fact, we've got more. We promised you more interviews, and we have more interviews coming up. Agustina Vergara Sid is coming to talk about everything, but especially her immigration talk at OCON 2025. She will be joining us on August 24th.
That's right.
Agustina on August 24th.
Augustina in August.
That's right. And we have more interviews coming up. Some folks we're really looking forward to talking to as much as we did with Ben and will with Agustina. Look forward to you joining us for that. Today is Sunday, August 3rd. We do not have an interview unless you count us talking to you or each other, and that's good too. August 3rd, 2025, the 215th day. We're up to 215. We are well over halfway through the year. I hope you are having an outstanding 2025. If not, let's turn that around. Let's start that today. You've got 150 days left to make this your best year yet. We are having a great time.
Yes.
God, we had a good time this week. We went into the trees.
Yes, we went into the trees, back to our primordial roots.
Yeah.
And we hugged them all. No, I'm kidding.
We were, well, I was holding on for dear life, so kind of tree hugging there.
So this is the Tree Runners Adventure Park, and it's a great place. I think they have them all around the nation.
There are others.
Basically, it's an obstacle course from tree to tree, and you are hooked into a harness, and is like a zip line harness is what it is. And you've got C-clamps to make sure that you're hanging on to some steel beam or another. So if you do fall off of an obstacle that goes from like a rope or some logs or some sort of balance beams from tree to tree, then if you fall off that you will not die. So very important around here not to do that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of snapshots here. I'll put them up on the screen for those of you watching live.
Oh, yes.
Or after the fact. If you're on the podcast platforms, feel free to take a look at my Facebook wall where these pictures are also. Yeah, that's me up on the Black Diamond course. We usually go with the mid-level courses, being mid-level kinds of folks with this stuff. But
that face of yours.
Yeah, well, at one point, Amy took a break and let me go off on my own. So I went up to the guy who sends you in all the different directions. There's like 10 different courses.
Second hardest obstacle that they have.
And I said, well, out of the Black Diamond courses, the ones that get you up to the highest level, the third level, way up in the trees, which one's the easiest of the Black Diamond levels? And I think there's only 2 of them. So he sent me to Black Storm. And I now understand why they don't allow the under 18 crowd on those levels.
Yes.
And they probably shouldn't have let me up there either, but they did, and it was great fun. And if you never test yourself, you don't know what you're capable of. And
it's true.
It did put me right to the very edge of I was ready to shout, "Staff!" which is what you do at these places if you ever get stuck and you need somebody to come rescue you.
Yes.
That was so much fun.
Oh, it's great.
If you ever get a chance to do really any of these kinds of activities, we've done the Warrior Dash and the Dirty Dog Dash and these obstacle courses where you do a 5K and you're running through mud and all that. And this is like an obstacle course up in the trees. It's the wildest thing. Love, love, love that. In case you're wondering why the pink ribbon, is Robert into breast cancer awareness? Well, this weekend I am. We also did we got to attend a fundraiser for family. Somebody who just had surgery a few weeks ago.
Yes, who's recovering.
And has expenses. Fundraiser has been shared to both of our Facebook walls. Maybe we'll put that out there again right after the show. If you are interested, if you have a few dollars and an itch to help somebody who could use a little bit of help. We had fun with that. It was a good group.
It was.
They rented a hall. They had 25 baskets of goodies that you could put in tickets. We won one of the baskets.
Yes, we did. I'm so excited. And we donated a couple of baskets. Actually, the Henry Ford Museum in Greenfield Village donated a couple of baskets. I want to shout out to them.
The Henry
'cause they're the
Ford
best.
was very generous. And Amy, you made that happen too by approaching the right people and saying, hey, have we got anything really cool that we could give away
Yes.
at a fundraiser?
Yes. And they came through, and I'm so very grateful and just love it.
And I want to say that every dollar that we donated, both directly and by buying lots and lots of raffle tickets, was done entirely selfishly. In fact, that's part of what I want to talk about tonight. But let me finish up with the start of the show, the beginning of the show, the top of the show, the usual things, this kind of stuff we skipped last week in talking to Dr. Bear. Christmas is in 144 days.
Oh.
That's a magic number. That's 12 times 12.
Yes, it is.
So you've got 12 weeks of 12 days. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, I always like remembering that this year isn't over. We haven't even gotten to Christmas yet. One of the best parts of the year. Speaking of the best parts of the year,
we're down to less than 100 days.
89 days until Halloween.
Oh my gosh, 89 days. So that's like 3 months. That's like doing time in jail for a misdemeanor.
For me, Halloween is like doing time in jail. That's right. Amy is a Halloween person. Those of you who know us know that Amy is a Halloween person to the nth degree.
Yes.
And to me, I'm a Halloween person in the 3rd degree.
The 8th degree.
It drives me crazy that I've already been seeing Halloween stuff in the stores for weeks now.
Oh, bring it on. I love it. Well, you know what? Happy wife, happy life, happy Halloween.
That's right. That's true. Guys, you've got to be willing to sacrifice. You've got to be willing to be altruistic. Oh, my freaking... this theme, obviously, is going to carry through the whole show. No altruism allowed. We will explain that to the people who aren't already of like minds in that regard.
Yeah,
Although,
you can work it out with people who might not like Halloween, those odd, strange people out there.
Stephen Katz in the chat says, the waiting time we've got before Christmas is so gross.
What's so gross? I don't know.
In measurement, a gross is 144, 12 times 12.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I like to see the humor going on there. And
and congrats, Stephen, on your job. So he's been at his job and he's marked a milestone.
Oh, he's been 1 year. Very cool. Excellent. We were really happy when you shared that news a year ago that you got the gig. Very cool. So on this date, real quick, this is the day in 1492. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. I don't remember the rest of the rhyme. There was something about the Pinta, the Nina, and the Santa Maria, but those were the 3 ships that Christopher Columbus commanded. It's pretty good if you can command 3 ships at the same time. We were on a sailboat a couple weeks ago. We couldn't command 1, so...
It was,
And we celebrate Christopher Columbus and everything that has flowed from him flowing across the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
Even though he was looking to get to China and India and all those spices on the Far East, he made it to the West.
Yeah, he ran into a bit of an obstacle, but that was eventually good all around. So
damn right.
Yes.
It's a good time to reread Tom Bowden's essay on Columbus Day. I have linked to it in the show notes. And the show notes, incidentally, were posted at their proper time, unlike the previous time when they didn't go up until after the show. So if you look on the YouTube description, or if you look on the description on Facebook Live, where I see Jim Ashley is playing both roles there. Thank you for helping keep our numbers up out there.
Yes.
Because Jim knows that even though he likes Facebook Live, our YouTube numbers are the ones that are really important. In fact, I'll say it right at the beginning of the show. Like the show. Please put in a like for the show. Mm-hmm. Subscribe if you're already not subscribed to the channel, although I know our regulars already are. In fact, there's a new, relatively new objectivist, Ayn Rand fan. A guy named Dan Norton.
Oh, okay.
And I think he's a philosophy PhD, or at least a college graduate with philosophy studies. And he just seems to be starting out, and he's doing good. He's got a show going, and it's interesting. I've mentioned him once before because he had this interesting idea of publishing his Zoom meeting number and phone number as a header for the chat. So if you listen to him, you can join him. You can use Zoom to actually call in. And he screens the incoming sessions, but as long as you pass, there's nothing too strange that he notices about you. You can actually... So I thought that was cool. That's interesting. But here's my point. He's just starting out, and he's already got 900 subscribers.
Wow.
So I need to enlist you, the 5 Minutes Army. Help me out here. Share the show. Subscribe to the show if you're not already subscribed. Share it and tell people, if you like this at all, help these guys out. Subscribe to their show. Because I'm feeling like, man, it's like I'm the tortoise and the hare just ran by me.
You know what?
Except I like bunnies, so...
Focusing on quality. No, actually, what we really need to do is we need to make clips and put them out on Instagram and TikTok and all
there
that
are a
stuff.
lot of things we need to do that we're not doing. And feel free to share that in the chat, too. If there's something that we're not doing or could do better that we're not, just say the word, help us out. Tell us, you guys get to work. You've got to do, and then, whatever X, Y, and Z are. So congratulations to Dan. I watch a lot of his shows, and I think it's really cool that he's doing what he's doing. I don't mean to suggest that I am filled with green envy and I'm hoping that we can surpass him. And no, it's all good. It's a beautiful thing. I remember Yaron Brook. He seems to be doing pretty well. He's just hit, what did he hit? 49,000 subscribers, 40. Anyway, he hit a large number, and he's working his way up to that $100,000 mark now.
Very cool.
100,000 subscriber mark. And he has made the point that the more the better. The more voices we have out there advocating for reason and egoism and political economic freedom, the better. More is better, and I absolutely believe that. This is the United States of America. That's practically our motto. More is better. So back to Columbus Day. Celebrate it. And again, the links are in the show notes for that. It's also National Friendship Day. And I got to say, you guys, you're our friends. I mean, you're here. And you're not just here. You're interacting with us. See y'all in the chat. I see Jennifer is there now, too. Hello, yes. Jennifer.
Hello again.
Something I wanted to say about Jennifer recently. She incidentally joined us at that fundraiser and made it even more fun for us to have her company there. But there was something, what was there about Jennifer?
Oh, we're going to be taking her to tree runners.
Oh, we got to get her to tree runner. Oh, I remember what I was going to say when I was talking about summer, which it still is, and that you need to capitalize on that and go to tree runners or go to fundraisers or go to all of these events. Go to the beach. We're going to the beach with Jennifer.
Yes,
that is on the calendar, too. That is why I was thinking of Jennifer, because I was reminded yesterday we got a beach date. Very, very cool. It is, that's it. Happy Friendship Day. Sometimes some of the people I know who have my personality, the shy personality, the introvert personality, have a very small group of friends. And I say that's cool as long as you've got a friend or two or three or 10. But more is better. Not just in America, around the world. You deserve that. You should get that. So do celebrate National Friendship Day. There's a link in the show notes of ways to do that. I'll leave it there. Real quick, just 2 birthdays I want to celebrate. Elisha Otis. Yeah, the guy behind the Otis Elevator Company was born on this date back in 1811. I mentioned Elisha Otis because, well, I love elevators. And I love all elevators. I had a job downtown Detroit. We had a freight elevator, and I was part of the IT team, so I got to use all the building and maintenance stuff. I got to ride and use the freight elevator, and this was a cage-style elevator. No walls. There's a cage around you, but you could just stick your hand out and rip it off on the side of the elevator walls. I loved that freight elevator. It didn't have buttons for floors, what we now call automatic elevators. It had the up and down handle, the little throttle, and the further you push it in one direction or the other, the faster it went. Anyway, love me some elevators, and I love modern elevators. I love glass elevators. Glass elevator at the Boston Public Library was a little bit disappointing. Why do they have a glass elevator if they don't let you go to any of the top floors? But still, I love me a glass elevator too. Happy birthday to the late but great Elisha Otis. And then somebody still with us, Martha Helen Kostra. Is that an Eastern European name? Well, we all know her better as Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart is 84 years old today. and is helping us all live better.
84.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, remember she was 81 and she appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated on their swimsuit edition.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Good for her.
I mean, she didn't look like she was in her 20s. She looked like she was older, but she certainly didn't look like she was in her 80s either.
Yes. She has a lot of good advice for keeping yourself young.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice. I like her. I love Martha Stewart. I especially love her Halloween drinks. If you ever look up online, put in Martha Stewart Halloween cocktail, and you're going to find wonderful things.
If you're into Halloween, there's so many good magazine editions that come out for Halloween, and Martha Stewart's is always one of the good ones.
I do believe that I own all of her Halloween magazine versions.
So far.
All of them.
That's right.
And
you
she
probably do. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is that she's covered so much ground that she hasn't really been putting them out for Halloween in years now. Because, I mean, she said all there is to know.
Well, that's the thing, is as a guitar player, I probably own most of the editions, for example, of Guitar Player magazine that have ever come out. And the thing you notice after a while is they may have things in them you've never read, but they don't really change that much, and they never become obsolete, with the exception of, certain electronics that may become obsolete. But guitars are never obsolete, and guitar players are never obsolete. So the magazines are evergreen, and Halloween editions of decent magazines are just like that. If you've got a stack of Halloween editions of magazines from the past, yeah, dig them out, take a look, get ideas, because the ideas are still good. It's all good. Just saw something in the chat I needed to mention. Oh, Jennifer Lionberger says, does it have a glass ceiling, that glass elevator? Yeah, I'm sure. There's a certain floor which all the women have to get out before the rest of us go
God. Up. Wow, sad trombone.
So happy birthday to our favorite, or one of our favorite lifestyle gurus, and her magazines and cookbooks and television programs. It's just funny because I remember being younger, and I wasn't envious. It wasn't a bad thing, but I was kind of annoyed by lifestyle gurus, by Oprah Winfrey, by Martha Stewart, by people telling you, here's how you should live your life to live the beautiful life. And part of that had to do with the fact that when I was younger, I was not particularly wealthy and didn't have access to some of the things that were recommended. But a lot of the stuff doesn't cost anything or doesn't cost much. And so if you're like that, if you are impatient with the Martha Stewarts and the Oprah Winfreys and all of that, I get it. But don't let it really get to you, because it's all good. Bottom line, it's all good. Oh, I meant to mention, when I mentioned Otis Elevator real quick, did you know Otis Elevator Company is responsible for the elevators in the Eiffel Tower?
Oh, yes. I was going to say that. I recognize that name.
And in the Empire State Building.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I mention is because also the elevators in the Burj Khalifa, and I'm not going to pick on the Middle East, those are my cousins after all. No, I will pick on them, but not right now, because what's amazing are the way in which they manage elevators, or in the Petronas Towers, the Petronas Twin Towers, where you have to manage these elevators that are going up in incredible distances, and they will have, balconies after 50 floors to stop and then go again, and manage the pressure in your ears and all of that. Now, I absolutely love it. Oh, and for our Canadian friends, the CN Tower as well has Otis elevators. There's a link to the Wikipedia article on that. It's very interesting. Yes. Oh, I just want to give a little tiny moment of silence. So there's a YouTube channel called Clint's Reptiles. Now, I don't know this gentleman named Clint, but he is a zoologist, and he has kept reptiles as pets and many pets as pets, and he knows just about everything to know there about animals and cold-blooded and warm-blooded mammals and such, and also dinosaurs, by the way. So this is a YouTube channel you enjoy.
Yeah, Clint's Reptiles.
Clint's Reptiles.
Well, his pet, Argentine Tegu, if I'm saying that right, Tegu, unfortunately, Gus passed away a few days ago. So, yeah, it was a quite a long Argentine Tegu lizard, about this long, and they have these powerful jaw muscles. But he was a real sweetheart, And he was like a little lapdog lizard. And anyway, he passed away a few days ago. So R.I.P. Gus Gus.
Well, very sad, and we'll send positive vibes.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. No, we'll have
Positive reptile vibe.
Have a thought of cheer and respect.
Yes,
for the
actually,
late Gus Gus.
if you go to that Clint's Reptiles and you watch it, it was actually a very dignified and beautiful memorial to a pet. So
Yes.
I recommend it just for that. If you haven't cried in a while, you should go there and give it a little cry, because we are pro crying
Yeah.
here.
Do we know how old Gus Gus was?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 8 years old or something like that,
Oh,
somewhere around there.
seems young. Well, Jennifer in the chat offers the sad face she is commiserating too.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Now,
wanna say
with that
eight.
said,
Yeah.
Jason Adams says, I'm seeing the new Naked Gun tomorrow.
Oh yeah, okay. No, we've seen the first Naked Gun film with that was with Leslie Nielsen, who I don't think is around
there are
anymore.
actually 3 of them, but I don't think I've seen them all.
But
And,
yeah,
I mean,
think we saw-
before the Liam Neeson one. And
Yeah.
he says, 55 and older equals $7 tickets. Oh, I should qualify for that. I never think, because I'm not old, I never think to ask. But
we're still in our 30s. Yeah,
well, you're not 55 yet.
not quite.
No, only one of us would qualify for those discount tickets. But thanks for mentioning that. I've got a backlog of films I need to see. And I'm probably going to end up watching them at home, on the big screen at home, because I'm just not getting around to going to the theater. I want to see the new Superman film. And apparently the Fantastic Four is great fun. And everybody loves Pedro Pascal these days, so that doesn't surprise me. Although I did enjoy The Mandalorian, so I would like to see that.
Alex, equal to a reality, says, look up Leon the Lobster.
Leon
And
the Lobster.
I
Who
guess
is Leon the Lobster?
let's
Is that
have
another...
a lobster who is a pet and who
pet
passed away.
lobster.
Who passed away recently. That would be interesting.
A pet lobster.
Yes, pet lobster.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll get to it in a minute, but when I was young, not real young, I guess this would have been when I was, well, anyway, whatever the age, some of y'all have heard of the pet rock. Some of y'all were around for that. So I guess anything can be a pet. Yes. And we have some elevator trivia from Jim on the Facebook side of things. He says, a little trivial trivia. Most elevators in the early 1930s, and probably before, made a clicking sound when the doors were closing. You could hear it in a lot of movies from the 1930s when people would get into an elevator. He hit my more. Says, I'll bet you could not have slept tonight without knowing that. No, I could not have slept tonight without knowing that. I mean, in theory, I could have, but you wouldn't let me. So there we go. But thank you for that bit of
We'll
trivia.
have elevator dreams.
That's right. That's right.
And if the elevator tries to break you down,
Go
go
crazy.
crazy.
Punch a higher floor. I did post a cover version of a Prince song from that same album. But those of you who are not on the guitar forum on Facebook I'm on, you don't know that. But the other thing I was going to say was, that's it. That's all I've got for On This Date. And so this is going to be a really short show, except
No, we
No.
have so much to say.
at my time, I think it's going to be a short
so
show.
much.
Well, under shameless self-promotion of what are we listening to this week, you can just skip that altogether. All I put in there are some things of ours or mine that I encourage you to listen to. Look later, do that. I also put a link to Dan Norton's channel in there. Help him get to his 1,000 subscribers. Even though you'll watch his stuff and say, yeah, it's really good, but it's not as good as Robert and Amy. But even though that will be your reaction, definitely do subscribe to his show. Dan's probably watching this and saying, what are you talking about? I'm just cocky, but with good reason. Real quick, our segment, Robert and Amy Take on the News.
What are we talking about? Is there news? Is
Well-
there news out there?
There was some bad news I was going to mention, and now I'm thinking I just want to leave it out.
Okay.
I was going to make the point that there are appalling things happening
Yes.
that are not new, and that even the ones that are being released as new, we already knew that was going on. The hostage situation in Israel, for example. There's new releases, new videos. We're seeing just what's going on with those few who are still alive. I am appalled, and yet I'm not appalled. I'm not surprised. What did you think was going on? What did anybody think was going on with these 50 remaining hostages? And although I'm appalled, I'm glad that it's still news. I'm glad that people are still outraged, that they're not just, well, yeah, we know, and they're not just sick of it. So good. If we can somehow still be appalled, despite these being 100% unsurprising stories, that is a good thing. We should be outraged. We should continue to fight for what's right.
Yeah.
No matter how long things have been going wrong. I always say I'm on Team Dagny. I am optimistic about the future. But Team Dagny does not mean complacency.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to all of our friends in Hamas. That's like 0. all of our friends in Hamas who might be considering helping the people in Gaza and making sure that they get food and they don't starve.
I see what you did there. Yeah, I've already sent $1,000 to every one of my friends in Hamas that I support. $1 million to every one of them.
Everyone.
I don't even like to joke about that, but I see what you did there.
Yeah, I mean, so
now,
yeah.
Meanwhile, and I'm not going to get into the Trump story, which carried a similar theme. In the meantime, Doomslayer, the people at Human Progress, the Human Progress Project at Cato, they continue to slay the doom and the gloom. For example, this week, I assume you're all receiving the Doomslayer newsletter. If you're not, the link to sign up is in the show notes.
Yes.
Under Culture and Tolerance, listen to this. According to recent research from the Institute for Family Studies, now I know as soon as I say institute, somebody's going to say, I don't trust them. I don't trust that organization. I don't trust any organization. I get it. But take it for what it's worth. And incidentally, I do trust this study. I think it's got good grounding. But according to recent research from the Institute for Family Studies, U.S. marriages in the early 1910s are more stable than any during any other decade since the 1950s. They estimate that 15% of couples that married between 2010 and 2012 were divorced after 10 years, down from a high of 30% in the 1970s. Marriages are lasting longer. Love it. Love, love, love it.
That's great.
I was talking to my daughter about this, and I said, I don't know what the stats are for people getting married. A lot of people say young people aren't as interested in marriage. And she gave me a purely scientific study that she said, well, a lot of people I know, they're all getting married. She's one of the few who's not.
Yeah. Yes.
So that scientific analysis there of all the people my daughter knows, I'm good with that.
Yes.
And I will believe that until I see countervailing evidence. And also on Doomslayer, the world's smallest snake, little snake, has been rediscovered in Barbados after it was lost to science for nearly 20 years. Scientists could not find any of these little 10-centimeter snakes that are no wider than a thick spaghetti. And then 20 years later, they finally found another one. Yes, see, it's not over. Yes, I see you've got a representation there of a Barbados snake. So, very sweet. You got to subscribe to Doomslayer because you'll read the news and it's all real, but it's like this little tiny bit of what actually goes on out there. Good news isn't news unless you're willing to go out and look for it. And then hot topics for the week. Well, when I was looking up notes for this show, I kept getting fed at random by whatever algorithms are out there, Sir Walter Raleigh.
Oh.
And why was Sir Walter Raleigh executed? And who the hell was Sir Walter? All I know about Sir Walter Raleigh is that there was a tobacco company named after him. And there's still Raleigh pipe tobacco out there. And apparently he had something to do with cigarettes. In the song I'm So Tired, John Lennon sings, and curse Sir Walter Raleigh, he was such a stupid get. Well, apparently he was one of the early champions of tobacco, of smoking. And so, just in addition to all of his actual accomplishments, and then eventually the crown turning on him and cutting his head off, he was popular for making tobacco a thing. In fact, let's see, we have a small tobacco pouch found in his cell shortly as after his execution. Engraved upon the pouch was a Latin inscription, Comis meus fuit in illo miseromo tempore, or, it was my companion at that most miserable time. I hope you can find a better companion at your most miserable time than a pouch of tobacco, but now I understand the line from I'm So Tired by the Beatles, why John Lennon sang that.
Oh.
And yet, he was a hero for his time. Read the article about him. He was really extraordinary. Even though tobacco is a menace, it's a terrible thing. It stinks, it smells, it gives people lung cancer. It's ruinous in so many ways. Some ways we'll talk about in a moment. It also came up for me, Harper Lee, Noelle Harper Lee. She decided to publish under the name Harper Lee. She was afraid that people would mispronounce her name. No, her name wasn't Noelle, it was Nell. But N-E-L-L-E, I guess, my daughter has that issue. And you would think people would know how to pronounce Diana, and everybody says her name wrong. If you've never read To Kill a Mockingbird, make that happen. I, on the other hand, have never seen the film with Gregory Peck. We need to do that. Let's add that to our movie list. I'm guessing Jim will be outraged that we have never seen the film version of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
But I do read the book every 5 or 10 years. And every time I read it, I think everybody has got to read this book. And that got me thinking about tobacco and racism and all sorts of things that in my mind, they're trivial because they don't exist anymore. They're not around anymore. Now, I guess some people do still smoke cigarettes, but it's just not an issue for me. It doesn't come up. In fact, I find these days, now that marijuana is legal in the United States, I find that more of a nuisance than cigarette smoke. Maybe I'm more used to cigarette smoke, but I don't want to smell people smoking dope. You can smoke dope if you want. I just don't want to smell it. And that led me to BuzzFeed and 17 outdated behaviors from the past that would be considered incredibly strange to do today. And I'm not going to read you all 17 of these. But tell me if you think it is that strange when you see somebody smoking a cigarette in a restaurant if you're somewhere where that's still legal. Or imagine somebody smoking a cigarette on an airplane or in a hospital where there used to be ashtrays because people smoked cigarettes in the hospital. And I'm not going to read you again those 17, although the cigarettes thing was one of them. It's kind of fun. The link is in the show notes. I thought, well, what would I like to see added to a list someday? Imagine not going back 50 years, go forward 50 years. I would like to reach a day in which movies, films, great movies where you feel great at the end of the movie, you love the movie, did not, each and every one of them, resolve their plot with some massive act of self-sacrifice at the end. I want movies where self-sacrifice is not the great thing that happens.
Right.
And some of them are out there. But so many films these days, there's got to be a big sacrifice at the end. Even
like Marvel movies or things like that, it's sort of like, I
saved the world even though now I'm laying here dying.
The plot and the dialogue and characterization is so insipid and boring and so shallow. Then they're like, oh, we're going to make a noble sacrifice.
Noble sacrifice.
No, you're not. You're not trying to smuggle in meaning.
You want to impress me? If you want to impress me, save the day, save the world without sacrificing yourself.
Right.
That would be really impressive.
Save the day and find happiness.
Number 2 on the list. I want to get to a day where we say, man, do you remember when taxes weren't voluntary? That was weird. Do you remember when you didn't get to choose which government programs you were going to support, where your money was going to go? Do you remember like when the roads weren't private? You didn't send your, subscription to that one company, that sends it out and lets everybody build a road. No, you sent your money to the government and they just decided willy-nilly which roads they were going to maintain.
And they
and
skimmed
like,
off like a half of it for their
half
own
of it went in their
personal-
pockets. But the other thing
Yeah.
is, like, how did they figure out which roads to fix? The ones you financed? No, it was just like whichever community was complaining the most. Do you remember when the USPS was still like a government mail office? And like, if you wanted to use UPS or FedEx instead, you still were supporting the United States Postal Service, because 250 years ago they thought, well, without some way to carry mail deliver services, you couldn't really have a representative democratic government. Well,
Do you remember when the government was in the insurance business and they forced you to pay in for some sort of retirement insurance?
yeah.
Nowadays you can choose from so many different
Yeah.
companies what, how much you want to put in, what do you want to receive back. You can get so much more out of it and so much interest through time.
Yep.
And nowadays you can retire with $50 million.
Yeah. So when I see a BuzzFeed article that says 17 things that, you won't believe used to be normal, I think I want to see 17 more things that shouldn't be normal. I want to see the age of majority, the age at which you become an adult, standardized, and where everything is the same. It's always going to be the case that some people are more mature at different ages. I get all of that, but I want to see the age at which you're allowed to drink alcohol be no different than the age at which you're allowed to vote, or the age at which you can have sex with your boyfriend or girlfriend without getting thrown in jail, or the age at which you can join the army and go fight and die for your country. It is crazy that you could be drafted into the army if they ever use the selective service system, which is still in place. You could be sent to another nation to go and die, but you can't have a drink while you're there. You can't drink a whiskey on the airplane on your way over. Crazy. So yeah, that's one of those things where and that one's not as much an outrage as it is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Make you wait until you're 21 to have a drink, even though they can tax you and sign you up for the draft and bring you in for jury duty and all of these other things. But heaven forbid you have a glass of champagne.
Right.
And going back to the beginning, what I said about movies, I want to see a day in which altruism, I don't mean niceness, I don't mean benevolence. I want to see a day in which altruism is seen as self-sacrifice.
Yes.
And in which it's then, for that reason, seen to be pathological. There's something wrong with it.
Destructive.
And I want to see a day when that happens and people are bewildered. I want to see them as bewildered and contemptuous of altruism as they are of, seeing somebody cheating at games or sports, or cheating in a romance, or psychological narcissism, or people, and not even necessarily evil, but just contemptuous or sad. Like people are self-harming, cutters, and people with real psychological issues. That's what I want to see altruism seen as, where people will say, oh man, wow, you felt a need to self-sacrifice. You felt so guilty for your existence. Can I help you with that? Can I help you through that? Or do you want me to schedule you to see someone? I want to see a day when altruism is seen like that.
Yes. Yes. And if people watch a movie with some sort of ridiculous noble self-sacrificing going on, that they're appalled, that they're repulsed.
Yeah. And that they don't find it super inspiring. They should be sad for that hero, not, oh, it was so great. No, it's the saddest kind of ending. You couldn't find a way to save the world that didn't require that?
Right. Yes.
You damn scriptwriters couldn't have come up with a better way to resolve the plot conflict?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to Ben Baer's talk, not just from the Ocon on the Ayn Rand Institute channel, but on our channel from last week when we talked about altruism with Ben Baer, you really, really should. I just got done listening to it and it's really good. It's, we cover so much and everything. And, but he comes up with really excellent points. We talk about, like, for instance, we were talking about COVID and we were talking about effective altruism. And, the idea is if is if you consistently use altruism as a moral code, what you're doing, you're of course you're living for others, you're sacrificing yourself to whatever they want you to, whether that's derived from society or from God or from whatever. But you're basically giving up. So you're giving your moral guidance to somebody else's, what somebody else thinks you should do. You're giving up, and he kept using the word giving up as opposed to self-sacrificing. Self-sacrificing, that's there's a lot of ethical and political connotations to that, but more on the epistemological side, more on, how do you gain knowledge? Giving up your mind is what altruism demands. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that today, because that I've seen it myself. Ask yourself how many people, when I asked Ben, what does altruism look like in reality, in practice? And, and I didn't bring this up last time, but I've known a lot of people who have really, really given up their mind, who have really given up and sacrificed their conscientiousness, their inquisitiveness, their curiosity, their intellectuality. They've given up their thinking, and I've seen them destroy themselves. And some of the people I've seen this from are people who I grew up with, people who are my very close family. And so when I think of altruism, I think of destruction, I think of abuse, I think of manipulation, I think of my brother who I grew up with, who basically destroyed his life. He died this past January. He destroyed his life through drinking and drugs. He was a heroin addict. And I would get into arguments with him about the morality of altruism. And he was always on the side of self-sacrifice. And he would always accuse me of being selfish. And, my brother was not a dummy, but he bought into this altruistic code of values and it destroyed him. It literally killed him. And he let it kill him. He didn't think twice about it. He didn't take my advice. He didn't question his moral code. And, so when I think of altruism, I don't think of, just, in terms of, what Ayn Rand had talked about. I think of things like what James Taggart did to Cheryl Brooks, for instance. I think of all the ways that altruism carries itself out, in domestic violence, in marriages that are unhappy, and all of these things. And it's really, you think about it too much, it makes you really, really depressed. But I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've seen how it plays out in the world, in the lives of people close to me. And I just wanted to bridge that gap there, because this is not just about politics. This is home life. This is school life. This is work life. This is friendships that are bad for you. And, Ben was right in his talk. You need to disconnect from the culture of self-sacrifice. You need to get all of that out of your life. You need to find things that are actually healthy for you, that are not abusive, that are valuable, that are life-affirming, that are benevolent. And, when we talked about the idea that, trying to figure out who you need to have in your life and gaining friendships, and what altruism, what the advice that altruism gives you is such that you should, give your friendship and your time, your consideration and your love just because people need it. Blank out all of the virtues, all of the things that you love about people. Blank it, just get rid of all that. Stop thinking about all of the good stuff, and just do it because somebody says so, or that they need it. It's really a heinous moral code. And I just want to say a little bit more about that. It will lead you down a path to death or the killing of others if you take it in its most consistent way. And oftentimes the way people are consistent about it is they've habitualized non-thinking. They've made a habit of blanking out. And yeah, I can talk a little bit more about the virtues if we have time here. But, because when I talk about virtues, we don't talk about duty ethics here. That's not what we mean. This is not dogma that we're talking about. We're talking about the ideas, like, for instance, honesty. That you're not honest because, you'll be shamed by other people if you're not. No. You cannot fake reality. You need to seek what's real, and you need to hold on to what's real and what's right and what's true for your own selfish ends, for your own sake, because you deserve to live a life where you are honest with yourself and that you're honest with other people, or at least the good people around you, the people who also follow your same moral code of honesty. And, it's gotten to the point in my life where if there is some confusion between myself and another person, I will go out of my way to explain myself and to explain my reasoning and my thought process, because I want to make sure it's clear in my head that I am practicing honesty, that I am living up to what is real, that I'm not succumbing to some fantasy. I am not undercutting my mind, because that's what it means to be dishonest, is to abuse your own mind, is to abuse yourself. Yeah, so that's just one example, and we'll continue on with more virtues in our future shows, like we have done before. But I just wanted to say that because it's heavy stuff, but it's real, and people should not be ignoring it.
Yes.
And,
So Greg in the chat says effective and altruism in the same sentence is borderline a grammatical error to begin with. Yeah, we've pointed out effective altruism isn't.
Right.
It's not effective, or it's not altruism. And really what it is the most efficient self-sacrifice you can make, which reminds me of the idea of government efficiency, as in the Department of Government Efficiency. I remember early on, Yaron had really ripped on that. It is true, I think, that you can make things more efficient depending on what it is you're trying to do, but effective altruism? Yeah, that's a mixed bag. Yeah, that's an understatement. Paul says, I liked Amy's summary of the altruist's demand. Well, who are you to live? Mm-hmm. Exactly yes, right.
Thanks, Paul.
And Greg says, with altruism, Rand said the first value you sacrifice is morality. Yes. Yeah, we talked about that with Ben, and it always takes me back to William McCaskill, who said in a conversation when somebody asked him, well, but what if I don't choose to be altruistic? And it was interesting because McCaskill wasn't condemnatory. He was dismissive. He said, well, you can do that. You can choose not to be altruistic, but then you're just leaving the whole field of morality aside.
Yes.
As if for McCaskill and for Peter Singer, his mentor, there is no morality besides altruism. It's altruism or nothing. It's self-sacrifice, or presumably just your whims.
Right.
Which is absurd. Actually having self-esteem, self-respect, self-responsibility, selfishness, if you prefer. that is an enormous responsibility. It is very difficult. It requires reason, rationality. It requires that you exercise your virtues rationally. They're not virtues if you don't.
Yep.
So yes, that frozen abstraction of taking the whole concept of morality and replacing it with one type of morality is, it's what we want to see in the future, looking back on it saying, oh my God, how did people do it? Why did they make that mistake? Well, because they hadn't read Rand yet. Back in the chat, Stephen said, have you read Go Set a Watchman? I have not read that. It's an interesting story. Not the story, but the story of Harper Lee. Nell Harper Lee wrote one book when she was young. And that was it. That made her famous. It gave her a Pulitzer Prize. It made her whole life. It is such a good book that it did that. And she did other writing and articles and essays, but she never wrote another novel. Well, early on, when she first had the idea of the book and she gave it to her editors, it was a collection of notes. It was set in time, events after what takes place in To Kill a Mockingbird. And it was originally titled Go Set a Watchman. So when she was much older and really shortly before her death, she took those old notes that were originally going to be To Kill a Mockingbird before her editor said, no, you've got to make this tight. It's really just vignettes. You need to give it a plot. You need to make it more of a story. And she created To Kill a Mockingbird. She took those old original notes and turned that into a sequel. And it was published right around the time that she passed away. So no, I haven't read that yet, and I gather it's not, quite the book that To Kill a Mockingbird is, but I probably should, especially considering she only ever wrote 2 novels, so I would have read her entire corpus if I did. Tom Harrison said, Roy Scheider in Jaws was a great hero to me as a kid. A lot of people have been talking about Jaws lately. I guess it just had its 50th anniversary.
Yeah, and there have been some documentaries about it too, so it's kind of in the news.
And I'll tell you, I haven't seen it since, I don't know if it was in theaters, but at least real close to when it came out.
I mean, I was a kid when it came out. I was a kid, and the music itself scared me away from it, so I never saw it.
Only 2 notes. Well, just to start with. I know there's more to the soundtrack.
Yeah, there's more. There's French horns going off in the background. Yeah. Really scary stuff.
Yeah. Craig Lewis, when we were talking about the age of majority, the age at which people become adults, he said, well, it could be like England, set it all at 16. But then he says, well, I told my daughter that 30 would be nice. It sounds like something Robert Heinlein would have said. Of course, he also said all young men, not women, but young men should be kept in a barrel until they're 18 and, forced to breathe through the bunghole, the little hole in the wood. And then at 18, you should hammer in the bung. So he would joke about, young men are never really mature.
Oh, golly.
Jennifer Lionberger says, how about no religion? Imagine no religion. That's something people used to believe category. Jennifer, it's all too easy for me to forget until I drive around and see, mega churches on the side of the highway, that there are still people who believe this stuff. I know people who go to church as a social function. So it's easy for me to look at a church and forget, some people really believe that stuff, those stories, that book, that Bible are supposedly things that actually happened.
Yeah.
I get it and I know it, but I also don't know it. I can't really believe that there are believers, not real believers, believers who really believe, because a lot of people believe, but it's kind of a touchy-feely sort of, they don't really know, but mysterious ways, and
yeah. I mean, I don't understand how people can live not being concerned about making sure that they define what's real and unreal, and what's complete fantasy and what they can actually count on as facts.
Yeah.
I mean, don't understand that.
If any of that made any sense that could be made of it, And if any of it was actually true, I mean, that would be, life and death stuff. That would really be important. It would really
Yes.
matter.
Yes.
But the people I know who are kind of religious don't really take it that seriously. Which is what I saw when I was a kid, too, when I was a young boy. Yeah, a few dozen years ago, not that long ago. But when I was a young boy, we were raised Lutheran. We went to church. And I knew other kids who went to church, and I would ask them about, what do you think of all this? And, does it scare you that if you really take seriously everything the Reverend said, none of us are getting into heaven. None of us are meeting that standard. We're all spending our entire rest of our lives after we're dead. Rest of our lives after we're dead, go figure. Burning, on fire, torture. Not just unpleasant, but the most excruciating pain and for all eternity. And the other kids are like, well, I mean, yeah, I believe that, but I don't take it that seriously. I think, how does that, anyway.
And what often happens is that people don't take it seriously because they don't take duty ethics seriously, because they don't take unearned guilt seriously. And that's oftentimes what they view morality as something that's foisted on them. We've run up against the idea from people who say, without religion, without the fear of God, without somebody guilting you, then how you're going to have morality? If you can't coerce people into doing the right thing, then how can you have people do the right thing? That's not how it works. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. Human beings have the capacity for reason. They have the capacity for thought and conceptualization.
Sorry.
You can't force that.
I'm not laughing at what
I
you're saying.
know. You're looking at something
Jennifer
else.
is in the chat with the I fell into a burning ring of fire.
Down,
and it burns. Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
Actually, Jennifer and I last night we were talking about the idea that yes, you need a morality if you're on a desert island.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not around people, if you're not around supernatural entities, if you are alone on a desert island all by yourself, you are going to need the virtue of honesty.
Yeah.
You're going to need the virtue of integrity. And
that's the more common error. You're right. The desert island.
yeah.
The other thing on a desert island, see, normal people, normies, the non-objectivists.
I wouldn't call them normal though.
No, they're not. But I'm just trying to figure out the briefest, most simple way to put it.
All the non-objectivist heathens out there.
So the point is that a lot of people vaguely sense or feel or think that, morality is strictly social. And on a deserted island, or a desert island, which would be delicious, on a deserted island, you don't need morality because there's no other people to treat right or wrong, and there's nobody else to treat you right and wrong. Yeah, but you've still got to be productive. And you got to be honest with yourself. You got to accept the facts and do your best to deal with them. And you have got more than anything else to be rational. You follow your whims on a deserted island, and you're toast.
Yeah, if
You'll be wishing for toast.
If you follow the 10 Commandments, they're not going to tell you diddly squat on a desert island.
Yeah, I was going to say the flip side, the mistake that some pro-capitalism types make, is the idea that individual rights aren't just inalienable; they are intrinsic. So even on a deserted island, you have individual rights. What would that even mean? The point is that rights are a social concept.
Right.
And I know objectivists who shudder and cringe and get blood in their eyes when you suggest that there's even such a thing. Because Ayn Rand has made the point, well, there's no such thing as society, there's only individual men. And yet, Ayn Rand talked about society a lot. The point is, the word means something.
Yes.
It doesn't mean what those who would regard it as a replacement for the individual mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the opposite mistake that people make. Doesn't matter. None of you all would ever make that mistake, but it's worth understanding what other people do. Do we have anything that I have missed from the chat that demands a
Let's see. Jim from Facebook says, the self-interested person can live long if they're rational and meet no fatal accidents, but the self-sacrificial person will not exist for long unless they check their premises and correct their ideas. And the truly, completely, consistently self-sacrificial person does not exist.
Right. Which is why integrity is a virtue for the self-assertive, the selfish person. Integrity is a disaster if you believe in self-sacrifice. You can't be consistent with your principles if your principles are self-destruction is the ideal.
Yeah.
Self-sacrifice is the ideal.
And also on Facebook, Dan says, altruism is what kept me in an unhappy relationship for 6 years. Well, I hope that you can
I know
find some kind of lesson out of that.
Oh, Dan has shared that with me before, and he got his way out. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. All props. It may have taken a long time, probably longer than you wish you had taken to do it. But I know how complicated these things get. Right. I have been there. Yeah. I know that. And so the point is, congratulations to you for finally getting out of that situation.
Yeah.
And being self-assertive enough to say, I would rather spend some time alone.
Be proud
than continue to
be proud of your actions in that regard.
Yes.
Do good for yourself and find good people to be with. And Linda Cordair of Cordair.com, Quint Cordair Gallery of Fine Art. She's in chat. We were talking about religion and the stories of the Bible and hellfire and all of that. And unfortunately, her parents believe all of that. I'm so sorry.
I've known that all too much. Fortunately, I came from a family where we eventually let a lot of that go. We became Christmas Christians. You're in the church in Christmas and Easter, and it's your one time of the year to get dressed up and that kind of thing. My own dear mother has been not a philosophical skeptic, but a religious skeptic. She would always say, well, I kind of believe I'm hedging my bets, And I won't get into the details there, but she's let that go even more and more over the years.
I got a shout out to my mom, who's since deceased and everything, but she never believed in hell. To her credit, she never put that on me or my brother, and it's very good, very nice of her.
Well, it's the only thing worse than believing only the comfortable parts is believing all of it. So you're probably better off that she just believed the comfortable part.
Yeah.
Again, if your standard is something completely irrational, you're better off if you don't have integrity. Even though, unfortunately, if you don't have integrity, it will never lead you away from the things you shouldn't believe. And I'll just leave that there. We got a lot of comments about the deserted island. Greg says, but I prayed from coconut trees and for a freshwater stream running from the mountaintop. And Stephen Katz says, well, you have a right not to be mauled by a jaguar, don't you know? Yeah, you try that individual rights thing when you are all by yourself and tell me how that works out, what you have a right to. You have a right not to have your rights infringed by who?
Well,
by what?
You've got your rights, but what about the beach? Shouldn't that beach have rights?
Well, then you're getting into the planet has rights. Yeah. I still want to go to a desert island.
Yeah.
We did that for our honeymoon.
Yeah, we went to a desert island.
That was a desert island.
Yeah, we went to Jamaica where there was fresh pineapple just dripping from everywhere, and there was just so many desserts all over the place, and
it was an all-inclusive resort. So
it was so great.
How much dessert can you have in an all-inclusive resort? And the answer is as much as you can stand.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. I have to share those honeymoon pictures again. All right. Well, folks, I think that was everything I wanted to say, and then some. Amy, thank you for sharing your thoughts on altruism. Well, you made the point that there's a lot of great books on objectivism out there, and obviously the best books on objectivism were written by Ayn Rand. But as far as sort of beginners or primers, synopsises and whatnot, but But I know you've got in mind, you're thinking maybe you need to write one or we need to write one,
need
because
to
for all the
write-
great books out there, nobody's quite doing what you're looking for.
We need to write a Nasirized version of the 7 virtues and the 3 values. And
what would be the difference besides just reading that section of Galt's speech?
well, it would have work like little workbooks in it, little work things,
Like more
exercises,
more
and such.
examples from ordinary life?
Yeah.
I see.
I mean, I've got to give a shout out to Dr. Ellen Kenner and Dr. Ed Locke for writing The Selfish Path of Romance, because I mean, if we could get a book like that talking about the values and the virtues and objectivism, that would be
Yeah, for a
amazing. I mean, that would be amazing. So we might have to write it. So we'll see.
for applied philosophy, that's pretty hard to beat.
Yes.
Although I really like Robert Garmong's. His is really short and very brief.
Yes.
But
I've given that away to a lot of people. And,
as far as just being grounded and something the
Yes.
average person could take in without it rocking his world too hard.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Oh, wow. Over on Facebook, Jim, I didn't know you were adopted. Jim says, my mother force-fed me self-sacrifice from the day she adopted me at 4 days old.
Oh.
It has taken me years, no, decades, to decode the moral system she poisoned me with, which I'm still doing. Without Ayn Rand's writings, I could not have done that to the extent that I have. Well, congratulations on getting as far as you have. That's
Yes.
no mean feat to be brought up that way.
Yep.
And even if your affection for your mother, at least in that regard, was not great, still to have that burden on you and then to say, I am open to an entirely different way of understanding life.
Right.
Well, it's a hero's quest, and a hero's quest to get over all the stuff that our childhoods put us through and manage the baggage. Congratulations on that. And
Yeah.
to the extent you've got any work left to do, good luck with that too.
Yes. I know there are a lot of objectivists who have a lot of stories somewhat similar to that, and Michael Leibowitz has a story, bad, terrible story about his family and the things that he worked through. He put a lot of work in.
Yeah.
So I think we
Some
all
of
did,
us
and,
have,
and we need to be, you know what? We need to be proud of the fact that we dug our way out of bad ideas, and that is not to be just, oh yeah, they were just digging, just avoiding disvalues and everything. I know we talk about, yes, you should pursue values instead of avoiding disvalues, but sometimes, you have work to do with regard to what you've been fed as a child. And yes, you do need to identify disvalues. You need to understand what the antidote to those are. And you need to understand the positive assertions that will help you shed all of those bad ideas and bad perspectives and bad points of view about yourself. So congratulations to all of us who have done that.
Damn right. That's right. And Rand bless us, one and all. Now they're talking about desserts in the chat. And with that said, I think it's time for us to wrap up, to go get to dessert. And the point is, yes, there were things we used to say, oh my God. There are things now that we look back on and say, well, now I can't believe we used to do that.
Right.
Whatever it is. And I always pull, cigarette smoking is kind of one, although a lot of people still smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
But at least they're civilized nowadays. I don't see, there used to be cigarette butts everywhere.
Yeah.
Even though there were
roads
ashtrays too. It's like, you'd go mow your lawn and pick up all the cigarette butts. And no, I know they're still out there, but to me, it's just, I'm so done with that. But other things that and the point is, I do look forward to a future in 20 years or 50 years. Will I still be around in 50 years? Maybe. We'll see. And looking back and saying, man, altruism, that thing. We had a lot of self-help. We had a lot of, talk about self-assertion and self-esteem and self-responsibility, but we also, still had a big bunch of self-sacrifice. I'm so glad that as a culture, we got over that.
We've gone past it, and we've found rational values.
And the fun thing about that, I talk about it being in the future, but for a lot of us, we already have. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for joining us this evening on the program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. More shows coming up, more interviews coming up.
Yes.
I love to see we got twice as many views on our show with Ben Bear.
Yes.
Interview shows are popular, and we are glad to do them, so you're going to get more of that coming too.
Yes, Augustina is going to be on the 24th. So
gonna be
mark
good.
your calendars.
If you want to support what we do, it's easy. Keep watching. But also like the show and share the show and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. If you want to help us in a big, big way, and thank you to those of you who already do, patreon.com/Robert Nasir. The link is at robertnasir.com too. Just go to the bottom of the page. Sign up for $2 a month, $20 a month, whatever is in your heart and mind, in your rational self-interest to do. Thanks again. And that's it. We'll do it all again next week. All that's left for me to do is to wish you... Afraid to wish, Mr. Reardon? I love that line from Francisco.
Yes.
All that is left is for me to wish you all of the success that you so rightly deserve. We know that you do. People who don't deserve success don't get through 5 minutes or an hour and a couple sets of 5 minutes of a show like this. And that is why we also, well, we wish you love.